Hi, Tali. Welcome to this Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here.
Delighted to be here.
Super excited. So the Jewish value that we're going to look at today relates to planning or the idea of misader, to put things in order. So what we're going to do is I'd love to ask you some questions about you, get to know you a little bit, and then I know that you have a very special presentation for us about how to plan for our futures. So Tali,
Good.
tell me about you. What brought you to this field?
I actually started my career as an accountant, but before then, I was a political science student in Tel Aviv University. So isn't that interesting that you start your life with one interest that leads you to a lot of interest instead of skills, then leads you to investments. But I spent years working for private equity firms in New York when I realized that my passion with investing is more about relationships with people. Because money is not money to sit in the bank and relax. Money goes to work, and how it impacts other people's life was really my interest. So my passion in what I do in wealth management is go from point A to point B, and allow people gain confidence in the process and feel better about what they do and be determined, and definitely have an impact. So that's how I lived my life.
That's
If that
amazing.
makes sense. Yeah.
That's amazing. And what was it that like really drove you to this career?
Was always good with numbers.
Uh-huh.
And funny story to share, my favorite class at the gym in Equinox called precision running. You run on a treadmill. And I don't know if you've ever done it, but there's a lot of counting to do. 60 seconds of that and 30 seconds of that, and then you play with the speed, and you play with the height in the machine and this and that. And they count on me. It's a group thing, but they go, Tali, what do we do next? Because there's always some kind of rationale, some kind of like how you do it. And then somebody that keeps track. And so I was always good in tracking things and numbers. And I think that came together with me loving people and being very interested in the social context.
That's amazing. And I see actually that Ben joined us. Hey Ben.
Hey Bradley, how's it going?
Good, good. Welcome to today's Wisdom Wednesday. So happy that you're here. If you want to just briefly introduce yourself to Tali, and then say what interested you in being on the call today.
Okay, well, let's sort of my name is Ben Kisluk. I'm actually born in Israel. Family's from Russia. I do commercial real estate, but I primarily specialize in investments and development. I came into the business very young when I was 17, so I've been in the business now going on almost 4 years. Started out in residential, then sort of built my way up to commercial, and now I'm the commercial operations manager for my brokerage at 21. Let's see. Why was I interested in the call? Well, I mean, it's always interesting, to see, financial guidance and different aspects from different people, and different, people have different views and they have different information that some people know and some people learn different ways. So it's always interesting to see what other people have to offer.
Amazing,
Sounds
amazing.
great.
Glad that you're here. So with that great preface, Tali, we can't wait to hear your presentation.
All right, so let me share.
And Ben, there will be some interactive parts. So there'll be some question. I know that you're on the phone. So there'll be some questions that Tali will also have for us, since I know you can't see the screen.
All right. Awesome. Okay. In that case, let me log in via Zoom.
Okay, cool. Perfect.
Sure, we can wait for you. Let us know when you're ready.
אוקיי, יופי, תודה.
We can just talk in Hebrew too.
Totally. And we're ready to go.
Great. So today's presentation is about how to think about financial planning and how to take actions and make smart decisions and be resilient and be focused. A little bit on myself, I'm a financial advisor and been in the industry for 18 years. Right here are my various professional designations, and I'm gonna hop into the presentation. So let's start talking about the challenges first. The challenges between how do you think about today and how do you think about tomorrow? And when I wanted to say that it's a balancing act, because prioritizing, spending, investing, savings, that's a lot to consider and a lot to think about. On one hand, you want to have, you don't want to worry about the cost of your cappuccino when you purchase it. You want to enjoy today, you want to enjoy life to the max. On the other hand, if you don't save today, then there will be consequences to how you fulfill your dreams tomorrow when you are retired and no longer have employability. So that doesn't mean that you can't, you can have good lifestyle today. So what I'm going to try today in today's presentation to do is think about how you position yourself to balance between the two. So life takes you different places, and this picture is trying to visualize the roadmap. And many different goals that you want to put on your roadmap. So Ben, I'm gonna ask you a question. What a financial goal that you want to achieve? I guess Ben can hear me. So I'm going to flip that to Bradley. Give me a goal that you'd like to achieve. Okay. So,
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Oh, now we can hear you.
Yeah, I had another call coming in. Let's see, what financial goal?
I already mapped some of them out for you.
So,
is any of those little icons state something that you would like to do and accomplish? I guess we lost Ben again. So I'll just keep going. Various goals to think about. Do you want to buy a home? Do you want to buy an investment property? Do you want to go back to school? Do you want to buy a car? Are you interested in having children? Are you looking to develop your career? Are you looking to travel around the world? Are you looking to retire in Hawaii on the beach or Tel Aviv? So mapping up and introducing your goals would be a start, because if you don't have a stated goals, then you don't know what you want to accomplish. Make sense? Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, for sure. Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, that makes total sense.
All right. So then how to prepare to go from point A to point B. It would be beautiful if you can just take a direct line and go from one to the other. But unfortunately, life is more complicated and takes you different places. And so there are good events and there are bad events that just happen along the way. Family changes, market goes ups and downs. Sometimes people get sick or they get ill or their job changes. And so navigating your roadmap, not so simple, it's not a direct line. But if you recognize that, then you're ahead of letting things happen to you. And so Ameriprise called it, how will you be brilliant? And I love this slide I picked, because what I see in these women, is determination and confidence and being able to focus on what she really wants to do. And it would be my vision for myself in retirement. Bradley, let's switch to you. What would be brilliant for you one day to achieve?
You know, it's interesting. So my mom and dad right now my dad and mom are retired, and they're spending their time going on cruises around the world, which on these like 30, 40, 50, 60-day cruises, which is pretty amazing. My dad worked very hard for so many years. You know, for me, probably what would be brilliant to just continue to do good for people. I like to start things, be involved with things. I don't necessarily see myself retiring, but would like to have investments so that I can do the things that I'm able to or want to do when I want to do them.
So again, having impact means having resources. And so achieving those goals requires, again, a focused approach. Ben, if you're unmuted, do you want to share with us what would be brilliant for you?
Yeah, for some reason I've been having the Zoom's been acting up a little bit. It keeps kicking me out of the call.
The question was, what would be brilliant for you? We'll get back to Ben later. So let's keep on going.
Yeah, for some.
And here I have a map. It's an actual map. And why am I sharing this? Because I think that every decision you make today, again, have impact and consequences for tomorrow. And what I'm saying here, do you see the shadow? There are two people.
Yeah.
And my thought here is that you're not alone. You don't have to be alone. So making smart choices and informative, being informed and thoughtful about your actions means that you should be able to leverage your social environment. So you reach out to your friends and family, your trusted team, and advisors like me that are skilled and trained into looking at somebody's financial pictures and draw the roadmap of what are the actions that you need to take. So key takeaway from this picture, you're not alone in drawing your picture.
Mm.
And so things to think about is we already mentioned balancing today and tomorrow. And again, that takes the takeaway from that is saving and investing for the future. Get a guide that leads you. Again, somebody from your trusted circle that can inspire you and give you some advice. Be prepared for unexpected. So when you take a road trip, anything can happen along the way. Your car can break down. The weather is bad, the weather could be good, the flights can be canceled, the flights may be rescheduled. Always be prepared and to address what's coming next. And I say that investing is like driving a car because if you look at the rearview mirror, it's all the things that happened in the past and they really don't matter anymore. What matters is you're driving forward is what's coming ahead. And so a lot of people with investments, they get confused. They look at past returns and performance that already took place. That doesn't mean that what's coming ahead would duplicate what happened in the past.
Oh.
And driving also helps me visualize when you invest, there are different lanes on the freeway, right? There is the right lane that is the slowest and the left lane that's supposedly the fastest, right? The carpool lane. But if there's an accident on the carpool lane, where do you go? You switch to the right lanes, right? Totally. So investing is like that. The different lanes on the freeway are different ways to invest. And I will get deeper into it shortly. And then plan as priorities change along the way. So, you know, and that's part of being focused. What is the highest priority for you to save for right now? If it's buying a house, then that money needs to be invested differently than if we're talking about money earmarked to retirement, like what's in your 401k plan or your IRA accounts. So each priority needs to have money earmarked to that very specific goal, and then invested in risk profile that is aligned with the goal. Okay, and then again, I have today and tomorrow with the pointers. Your saving rate today is key. So Ben said that he's in, you know, just started his what we call accumulation phase. You're young, you're working. Then there are trade-offs to make today between how much you spend on your lifestyle and how much you save. And build your wealth mean you have to invest, you have to take risk. Assuming risk means you want to have growth. If you don't want to assume risk and you're too conservative, you're giving away on the ability to have growth. Then how to think about protecting what you will earn. And if Ben can talk now, I can switch it back to him. Can you hear us, Ben?
Yeah, I can hear you, but for some reason, yeah, Zoom keeps kicking me out.
Okay, but we hear you now. Tell us what you do today to protect what your ability to earn income. Are there any actions that you took to protect your income?
Well, first of all, everything goes through an S corp. That's one. Two. Well, anything that I make via real estate goes through my S corp LLC.
Okay.
And then afterwards, everything gets spread out to various investments and accounts. So, so I mean, I push a little way for, let's say, Bitcoin, because it's the most stable cryptocurrency. And then right now I'm putting money away for buying my own real estate investments. Let's see.
So in addition to being a broker, you're also being an investor. So what I say about what you described, so the legal structure, you thought about the legal structure so that in case that they have liability exposure, you have the right legal entity, and that's thoughtful. And in saving, you're saying you are investing, so choosing cryptocurrencies, that's an asset class, more like speculating, the way we view it in wealth management, but that's, you know, that's an action that you're taking. How you protect the money that you save. So I'm gonna ask you the question in a different way, Ben. What is your biggest financial asset today?
Well, what is my biggest financial investment?
Yeah, what's your biggest asset? What is
biggest asset? Is
I know what you're gonna say. You have a property in mind. You have a property in mind, but it's actually not what I meant. Because as large as this property is, think about of the you know, number of years that you can be productive and earning money and investing money, and wouldn't that be much larger sizable asset compared to one of the real estate property you already have? Make sense?
So one's greatest asset is themselves.
Exactly. I love how you put it together, and that's what I meant. You invest in yourself and in your own career and your own future. And again, making informed and thoughtful decisions about how you allocate your resources is what is likely your biggest asset. So with that, I have the sentence here, and I'm just going to read it out loud. Plan to make an impact on the people and causes you care about. And so that leads me to the topic that I'm going to focus on in the next webinar that I'm going to do with Career Up Now. And the way I frame the topic is, first of all, help you understand the definition of what's impact investing, what's social responsible investing, what ESG, which stands for environmental, social, and governance investing. So first help you understand the definitions of those things, and then help you think about how you implement. And when I say how to implement, there are two ways to think about it, two basic ways to think about it. One is that you're going to go through a due diligence and screen for the type of businesses that are not aligned with your values. Or within those industries, you're going to pick the good players. So I'm going to give you an example. Say that in your investments, Bradley, you said you invest in the large economy, right?
Yeah.
Right. So one of those large economies, the S&P 500 companies, say you picked one of those ETFs that go after the large cap companies. They're going to be oil and gas producers because they're part of the index. Okay. So either you're being very restrictive and you say, I don't want to invest in oil and gas at all because they're bad for the environment.
Yeah.
That's option A, and that's very restrictive. Or option B, you say, well, within the industry of oil and gas, I'm going to look for the players that are best in class. Those that put women and minorities on their boards, those that care about the environment and looking for products that are better and friendlier. And so coming from that approach, you're allowing yourself to have exposure to oil and gas. Being more restrictive would just not going to give you exposure. So there are two ways to think about, how you play the game, how you want to be involved in how you impact our environment tomorrow. And so again, this is a very big topic, and I'm going to dedicate a whole presentation to it. I'll have plenty of examples of how to first understand how to play the game and then how to implement. Sounds good?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, all right. So I had two columns here because today and tomorrow are two different things. Because what you can do today, once you're there tomorrow, like in retirement age, then, it's the other flip of the coin. Because at that point, you're not worried so much about increasing your assets and building your wealth. At this point, you want to manage your wealth, safeguard your wealth, and protect what you've earned. So then your risk profile changes dramatically, and you go from being a growth investor to being an income investor. And not to forget, again, the social responsible investing you can implement in both places of the accumulation period. Okay, so that brings us to look into the future. And here what you need to think about, again, is how you reassess and readjust. The economy goes through cycles, and we're in a very late part of a growth cycle coming out of recession. And it's now been like exactly 10 years. And so we know recession will come at some point. What do you do today when you know we're in late cycle? How much risk you're going to put in your portfolio? So again, don't be the kind of investor that looks in the rearview mirror and you say, well, I bought, S&P 500 and it worked well for me in the last 10 years, so I'm just going to stick to it because we're going to start a whole new phase. But keep steady balance, keep saving, keep investing. And who with you invest on a regular basis in a retirement plan? Bradley, you said you had some regular retirement account that you invest money in?
I mean, I had one. I don't have one now. I mean, I still have a Roth IRA, but I'm just not making investments in it.
Not making investment. Okay, so when people employed people that have an employer that has a retirement plan, say a 401k plan, that's the standard plan. If they save via every pay stub, every paycheck, then they're continuously putting money in the market at various points in the market. Sometimes it's a low point, sometimes it's a high point. And that's called dollar average investing. That means you just continually, you're not trying to be extremely strategic, or I should say tactical, you know, because nobody can really tell when you're in a low point in the market. You can only figure that out looking back. But again,
Right.
You're driving and you have to look forward. So I say, don't try to be too tactical. Just continuously, in a steady way, invest and save. And then, of course, as we said before, you have to figure out how to manage transitions. If you're in between jobs, then right now, retirement savings is not the key thing.
Yeah.
Managing your essential is the key thing, which brings me to the next slide. And this is the way Ameriprise put together a framework of how to think about planning. And I call it hiking to the Everest, right? It looks like a little mountain, this triangle. Okay, you start with the base. The base is covering essentials. And what we mean by that is the stuff that you have to pay, the necessities, the rent and the utilities and what makes your life running. And so you want to have that money safeguarded and invested conservatively. That's, I call this emergency funds. So always have some of that. And then solutions for covering essentials is maximize your saving rate, right? So as long as you have employment, save and maximize workplace benefits. Really go through the benefits at your workplace and make sure that you're taking advantage of what's offered. And as I said before, build up a cash reserve. Okay, then ensuring lifestyle. These are the things that you like to have. So I think everyone would like to have a nice vacation somewhere, right? Would like to have gym membership, would like to have ability to go to nice restaurants and have good dinners and enjoy experiences and build your social network. All that calls lifestyle. And again, let's look at what we can do to also cover those expenses. Here, if you are a participant in a 401k plan, then that's the match from your employer. That's the extra. Think about tax impact. Think about how to manage and leverage the tax code so that you have more in your pocket and less paid in taxes. If you're a small business owner like Ben, I assume he already said he has his own entity, then he should think about, if he hasn't done executed yet, think about a retirement plan on the level of the entity. So that would be a tax deduction. So, you know, bottom line, develop smart investment plans. Always think about how you engage in a plan to save for the future while being thoughtful about tax. And then prepare for the unexpected. These are the things that just happen to us in life, right? So how do you protect that income of yours? Maybe it's, if you're self-employed, maybe that's disability insurance. Maybe it's a product. Protect the people and causes you important to you the most. Again, that would be part of the next presentation. And protect for additional risk. Ben already said he has a legal entity that protects him from liability. So that's other things you need to think about. It depends on what your employment and what is your sources of income. And lastly, and my most favorite, so this is the top of the Everest, because you're confident and you have space to think about how you leave a legacy, how you plan to maximize your giving and making your wishes known. You don't have to die to do this. So that's the key thing. You don't have to be dead. That's the old generation. That's the way they thought about it. we like to do things during our lifetime. And so being dead, of course, it's some risk you have to address. Not something you want to think about every day, but something happened, you know, things happen to people all the time. Of course, going through the estate planning process of will and healthcare directive and power of attorney and securing your digital accounts. And if you have children, make sure you have guardianship paper, and especially if the people that will take care of your kids are out of the country, then these are just things and documents that you have to do. So if there's something that you have not done, absolutely check that off your to-do list. But bring it all together is, again, focus on what is happening to you during your lifetime and how you're going to write your story and what is your roadmap. So I don't know if that brings me to about 30 minutes, but I would love to do some questions at this point.
Very cool. Ben, I see that you're on the call. So my question is, Tali, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin?
So the world of cryptocurrencies has had obstacles being approved by the SEC. So advisor like me, licensed and registered, cannot be engaged in making recommendations for investments that did not pass the due diligence of the SEC. And the reason he hasn't is not because the SEC is old-fashioned. There are various risks and that they need to make sure work, like the black world of illegal commerce, I should say. There's just too much going on in this world that doesn't bring the transparency that the SEC needs to have in order to approve those investments. So I would think about it in a different way. There are plenty companies like NVIDIA, for example, that could benefit from the blockchain technology and would impact, you know, the way we use technology in the future. So I wouldn't go to the cryptocurrencies directly as an investment. Again, it's not an approved investment by the regulators, but to think about how big companies, small companies, mid-sized companies engaged in the technologies that the blockchain provides.
Very cool. That's over. Ben, do you have any questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, finally. Well, I mean, ultimately, cryptocurrency itself is, it itself is volatile. So it's not something you should be dumping all your money into as an investment. But because it's regulated by supply and demand. It's not backed by gold or any other currency. So, but even let's say for real estate, even real estate's commercial real estate is incorporating blockchain technology. For every property now, where we're integrating, where we're actually integrating blockchains for every property. So in via one link, you have the full records dating back to the original plat map for every property, and everything in between, every inspection, every bill, every tax that's ever been that's been on the property since paper was papered. So
Ben, I will stop you there for a second. So what you're saying is the investment is actually in real estate. The blockchain technology was just how to process, you know, what exchange hands. But at the end of the day, the investment is in real estate. So I think what you're trying to say is when you invest, you do an asset allocation decision, okay? And so cryptocurrencies is like another asset class. What are the traditional asset classes? They are more reliable, more liquid, and have a market, and have transparency so that you don't have to deal with fraud and the size of volatility that happens in the cryptocurrencies, okay? So equities and bonds are the two key traditional asset classes. Real estate is commingled with what we call alternatives. These are things that are neither equities or bonds, right? And so it's either an asset class like real estate or futures and forwards or cryptocurrencies or gold or commodities, timber, or it's an alternative investments strategies. So a hedge fund that doesn't just go long, doesn't just buy equities, but tries to short the market, that's also an alternative because it's going about investments in a different approach. So anything that's alternative, that is a real alternative, especially, is that what that means? That it's not behaving exactly like the stock market. If it's behaving opposite to the stock market, it's a hedge. Makes sense? Hedge means like if the stock market goes up, you expect this thing to go down. But if the stock market goes down, then you are protecting yourself by having a hedge. Hedge costs money. So I think you said yourself, Ben, cryptocurrencies, even, you know, Bitcoin, it went down from 20,000 valuation to 3,000, 4,000. Now it doubled and now it's 9,000. Again, it's me being a licensed advisor, it's not something that I can rely on for protecting people's assets.
Of course, it's all based on supply and demand. So I mean, back then when it was 20,000, everybody was mining, was crypto mining. That's why it started raising in value because there was less share.
Yeah.
But then again, in correlation to real estate, because the thing is, unlike stocks or bonds, real estate is a physical backed asset where it's real property. It's not in a way numbers on a computer or on a piece of paper. That's where, because here's the thing, with commercial real estate, we work a lot with correlation between 10-year bonds. The correlation if it'd be smarter for our client to invest either in gold, in stocks or investments, and we look at that correlation and we look at the stock market very closely as well to see which is a better asset. Because on top of in commercial real estate, there's four different disciplines. There's multifamily, office, industrial, and retail, and every single one of those assets has their own sort of economy. Granted, they're based off of the main one, but let's say multifamily can be in a recession, and industrial can be appreciating. That's why we're able to rearrange and move our clients around in a way of just like the stock market. We buy low, sell high. We cash out on when it's fully appreciated, and buy when a certain discipline is in a recession or a certain group.
You're saying, you try to be tactical and you try to be diversified. So again, think of real estate is another asset class. It's got its own behaviors. It also have its own cycles. It's been sensitive to interest rates. So when rates go higher than cost of financing, the real estate transactions, they're always leveraged. That impacts supply and demand, population growth, there's so many things. And I like what you said about being diversified in real estate. And I think now there is, when you invest in real estate, you can buy your own property or you can go within a fund. And the fund could be publicly traded or could be privately held. And whoever is interested in this information can reach out to me and I can educate them further. The benefits obviously of buying through a broker, registered investment broker and a fund that is registered with the SEC is that it went through a due diligence of a firm. So, but either case, I agree with you. Residential would look bad if the economy slows down. But industrial, as long as commerce goes on, the backbone of the e-commerce business, the Amazon deliveries, those giant warehouses, that's something to think about as You know, so again, think of the freeway, and now the freeway is only real estate investing. All these different lanes that you can think about and consider. But overall, just remember, real estate is an illiquid investment, and so it's appropriate as long as it fits your goals. So go back to the goals investing, and if you are saving to buy your own house, then it doesn't make sense to lock your money and also lock your capacity to borrow. You know what I mean? So if your goal is buying a house, then your investment approach needs to consider assets that are liquid and also not going to risk your funds too much. If you're thinking about retirement assets, then it's a long, and the time horizon is long, then you know, then you want to go with high growth investing and not income investing. So all these things need to come about. You first need to define your goal and what are we trying to solve? Just like an engineer sits there and you know, first he needs to define the problem. So if you don't have the definition of the problem to solve, then how are you going to go about approaching it?
It's very true. And Tali, I want to thank you so much for all of your time today. And Ben, thank you for being here as well in this inspiring conversation. And we're looking forward to having you back again.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks so much, Tali.
You're very welcome. Talk soon.
Talk soon. All the best. Bye.
Bye-bye.